Sausage.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Attack the Backlog. No, this is Attack the Backlog. I'm forgetting. I'm always mixing and matching the way these shows start, and I'm trying to give them their own identity, and I'm not good at it. But this is Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Mark Kuznez, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Grounded, and this is actually part one of what I expect will be a two-parter. It's been a while since I've done a multi part episode of this series. In part, to not just keep using the word part over and over again, but partially due to a lot of the games I've been playing as of late being on the shorter side and still trying to gauge how much time I should allot for an episode. By that, I mean how much playtime, game time should equal an episode's worth. However, I'm trying to word this and not doing a great job of it, but should I break down a game every 10 hours if it doesn't have a natural sort of chapter setup, act setup, etc.? Not entirely sure. I could do it week by week by week, which means anywhere from 15 to 20 hours. And that's about where I am with Grounded. I put roughly 20 hours into it. And for those interested in playing along or those who have already played it and want a general idea of where I'm at, I just reached the Black Ant Hill lab, which is the fourth and final lab of this, what I assume is first half or first 2/3 of the game. I'm pretty sure there's a decent amount left based on how long to beat and what that says for a general playthrough, which I think is around 30 hours. And also just the fact that when looking through my collection of information, what would you call those? What do you call those? It's not my tomb, my tome, my log, but where you can see all the insects, the not just insects, but all the creatures you've run into so far in the course of the game. I've seen, I think, I don't think I checked it after getting to this newer area, but I may be at around 6. No, the roly poly got hostile after, so that would be a neutral bug. But I think I'm about halfway through where I've seen half of the harmless bugs, probably around the same of the neutral bugs, and only about a third of the hostile bugs, which makes me think, what the hell's going on? I've played this game for 20 hours and there's still so much I've not seen. There's a whole area of the backyard I can't reach yet, I don't believe. I found a lab in this wall that is not open yet, and I'm thinking, because I was looking at some of the iconography around it, that once I get through the Black Ant Hill lab, it'll open up. And I did something very stupid, so I ended the last night of playing it at the Black Ant Hill lab, and I said to myself, "Watch when I get there, me needing the grenades, the explosives in order to progress here. But you know what? I'm still gonna put them away in my storage at my little home base that is really pathetic and crappy, and I just threw up and built a bunch of shit around the first field station because that felt right for me. But of course, I didn't bring the grenades with me, and so now I have to trek back to my base, get the grenades, and go back to where I am, which is my own fault, and that's my own doing. That is what it is. But I should probably speak a little bit about what Grounded is if you are unfamiliar with it. It is a survival game, a la, I guess. I'm not that versed in the survival genre, so I can't really speak to all the games within that genre, but stuff like Rust, or even to a more general and wider catching net extent, something like Minecraft, where you are going around collecting resources, crafting, worrying about hostiles, building a base. And in this case, like a lot of the other survival games, something you have to do in Minecraft, but worrying about thirst and hunger and not really sleep, not energy. You have stamina, but it's just a general stamina bar that refills immediately after you deplete it or if you just stand still. But it's a survival game that is basically Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. You are a teenager. I would assume you're a teenager. If you're not a teenager, you're just on the cusp of being a teenager in that 12-year-old range. But I would assume that you're in that 14 to 15-year-old range based on how you look. And you've been shrunk. How you've been shrunk, why you've been shrunk, who shrunk you, all that is a mystery at the start outside of you starting the game right next to a suitcase that has 4 spaces in it for 4 different characters. Because you can play this cooperatively if you want, if you have the friends who are able and willing and want to play the game with you. And they are 4 distinct characters. You can't create your own character. There are 4 different kids. And you start off next to the suitcase, and then you're just on your ways to figure out what happened to you and how to get big again. And the game does a pretty good job of initially introducing you to the mechanics and the general setup of the story, getting you to that first lab, and then when you get to that first lab, which is in the oak tree, you meet a little robot dude who's like, beep, boop, bop, beep, bop, bop, boop, 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 beep, and lets you know about 4 additional labs to get to for new information and collecting these chips that allow you to get more upgrades and later on learn a recipe for the re-embiggening serum thing juice, something like that. As long as you can make a re-embiggening smoothie. But it's basically that Honey, I Shrunk the Kids made into a game. And I have been enjoying it quite a bit. Survival games are always these games, or it's this genre that I look at and I think I could fuck with this. This is very much so up my alley, but I never feel the time or feel like I have the time that is to really invest in them. I'm also not the biggest base builder, which is part of why Minecraft has always felt like the most one I struggle with playing because I like the vibe of it, but Minecraft more than any of the other ones that I've dabbled with, it feels the most base buildy of them all, where the real crux and heart of that game is in building these incredibly elaborate bases, houses, whatever, and the exploration is an aside. I'm probably very wrong there, but at the very least, I think people would agree that the base building in Minecraft is on the more important side, relatively speaking, because I just see these incredible builds that people do, and I think to myself, that looks cool, but I'm more of an explorer than a builder, and that's part of why in Grounded, I didn't really put much time into building any kind of special base. I only put together some walls, closed it off, put a door there, threw some shit in there, got my cozy level up to what it needed to be to finish the quest, and it's like, "Okay, that's good, I'm done with that." But in terms of exploring this world, which is just a backyard, I've had a pretty good time with it. There's a nice variety to it, and you get to experience that variety through these mazes, not these ma I keep wanting to call 'em mazes, through these labs, the initial 4 labs at least that the game asks you to explore. You have the hedge lab, the pond lab, the haze lab, and then this final black anthill lab. The hedge lab is in a giant bush, a berry bush. I don't know what kind of berries they are. Then you have the pond lab, which is in a pond, which is weird to have in a backyard. I don't know how many backyards have ponds. And also, this pond has a koi fish in it, which I'm not that versed in the pricing or care of kois, but I feel like it's more of a rich person thing, and this seems like a general, basic, normal, suburban-ish backyard house setup, just like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and the fact that there's a pond in it with a koi fish in it seems ridiculous, but at the same time, this is the pond in the backyard of m I'm assuming the scientists who created this shrinking device and built these tiny little labs throughout the backyard, so they must have quite a bit of money to be able to do crazy ass shit like that. So having a koi pond is not that surprising. But then you also have the haze lab, which is in this infected, toxic area that you need to create a gas mask in order to traverse. And then, of course, the last one is the Black Cat Hill lab, which I haven't fully explored yet. But I enjoy exploring this world in part because I grew up with Honey I Shrunk the Kids. I loved Honey I Shrunk the Kids as a kid. I grew up on it. I am old, but it does a really good job of creating this world full of all these bugs you know of and having them become these imposing creatures in some extent, having some be cute, having some be just there to chill out. There's something tantalizing about being in a world of stuff you know and all that stuff being incredibly large. So coming across a cassette tape and it being this giant thing that is a ramp to something else. That's it's cool. It's just cool. I like the general vibe of it. And the way they work in crafting and making tools and items and armor based around the various types of bugs, because there are many different bugs so far. I've encountered numerous spiders, which I am a spider scaredy cat. I have, I guess, I don't. When you say you have a phobia, I don't know what the level is, what you have to be at, but I would say I have arachnophobia. If you put me in a room with a bunch of spiders and nobody get out, I'd have a heart attack. If this actually happened to me and I shrunk and I came across a spider that was humongous, I would just die of shock. The spider wouldn't kill me. I would kill myself first from sheer fear and panic. I don't like spiders. I hate them so much, and there are plenty in here. Of course, there is the arachnophobia mode, the accessibility option, which would allow you to, I think, go all the way down. You can dial it in to how little you want them to look like spiders, all the way down to, I think, just a floating orb, which would be kind of silly. And I want to have that real experience with it. But I've experienced lots of spiders, ladybugs, fireflies, mosquitoes, ants, weebles. I don't know what the hell those are. These other little green things that you can get as pets. Don't know what they are. The gnats, mites. Mice are little sons of bitches. But mosquitoes are bastards and they like to fight in pairs. I hate them. I've experienced some beetles, a stink bug, and a few others as well, surely. But there are all those empty slots of things I haven't encountered yet that make me wonder what is still in the game to find. Could there be some centipedes? Those are disgusting. Hate those too. Could there be scorpions? Those are cool. Those would also make for some great armor and weapons. I've seen bees flying around, haven't interacted with them yet. I want to kill some because they are required. Their fuzz is required for a lot of level 2 crafting items. But the game does a really good job with its setting and its theme and all that. It also, for me, and I'd be curious how it works for other people who play the game, it definitely gives me a bit of that phantom bug syndrome, which is a term I'm coining here. If it's not already something that exists, I'm not sure. But after a night of playing, when I go to cook, because I usually eat after I play, I feel like I'm seeing bugs in the corner of my eye. So I'm cooking, I'm preparing my food, and then I think, is that a spider? Is that a spider over there? Are there ants there? Is there a bug there? I had that for maybe about a half hour after playing where I'm just seeing bugs everywhere, and it's not fun. I did start the game on the normal difficulty, and after about 12 hours, I lowered it because one of the things that I encountered with this game, we can say that, is in getting stuck in a few places. Because once you get through that opening area and through the hedge lab, it it's not that it doesn't tell you what to do next. It tells you go to one of these labs and get the next chip, and then so on and so forth. And the natural one, I think, to go to after the hedge lab is the pond lab, then the haze lab. The order that I went in, basically. But there are things that need to be done in order to access certain areas and reach things, like with the pond lab, in order to breathe underwater for a longer period of time and to swim faster, you're going to need certain things, and you require certain resources to do that. And to collect those resources, you need to do certain things or have this item so that you can cut something underwater, and so on and so forth. And in a lot of the guides I saw, they would either be poorly structured. I think IGN has some of the worst guides in the world, and it sucks that the first result often, if not always. But then another guide I saw, they told me what I needed to do, but they made it seem like the item I needed was the spider dagger that you get from killing. In my case, I had to kill 2 wolf spiders, and on normal difficulty, that wasn't gonna happen. So I lowered it down to mild, and I've been playing on it since then because it just feels like it makes sense to play on mild when I'm looking for a chill game where I'm just exploring this world. As an explorer, I'm not looking for a huge challenge. And even on mild, while most of the bugs aren't an issue, I'm still not going to take on a wolf spider just to take one on when I'm coming across it. I'm only going to fight a wolf spider when I need their resources. Or I could just take what resources I have and haven't used and go to one of the labs and well, it's the main lab, the Oak Tree lab, and then there is a device that allows you for your raw science resource, which you gain from completing quests and from finding raw science in the world, or by analyzing new items you find and increasing your brain power as well. You can use that for certain upgrades, but also to duplicate items for a certain cost. And there's a limit to how much you can totally do there. But even on mild, come across a wolf spider, I'm like, F no. And even with the difficulty decrease, making it so that when I encounter a bigger bug, I'm not so scared that I feel like, well, if they spot me, I'm dead in one shot. I'm still scared of big bugs. When one pops out of nowhere, I'm still freaked out. The last night I played, which was well into my mild transition, I saw an ant just pop up over a hill or something like that, and it freaked the shit out of me. It was just a red ant, which are super sweet. They're fucking kind as hell. If you see a red worker ant, a red soldier ant, those things are bastards. When I had to go into the red ant hills home, the main ant hill, to collect some of the eggs in order to create the explosives, I first fought 2 of the hostile not worker ants, but the soldier ants that came out after me. And when you fight a soldier ant, even though the worker ants are generally neutral, if they see you taking on one of their buddies, one of their soldiers, they'll join in the fight. And because I was at the main anthill, they just kept coming and coming and coming. And I probably killed 40 ants in 5 minutes. And it drove me nuts because I was like, can we stop? Can you just see that I've killed so many of you? There's just this giant pile here. Please stop. And eventually I hit a point where they stopped spawning in, or I killed all the ones that were in the general area, and then I just said, "Alright, I'm rushing through this anthill. I'm not gonna fight any of the soldier ants because it's gonna aggro all the worker ants, and it's just gonna be a pain in the ass. Let me just run through this area, pick up as many eggs as I can find, and that'll be that." And when I did that, I also came across queen, the ant queen, which looked imposing, and I saw its room. I maybe went to its room just to pick up a few more eggs, but I didn't engage it because I was pretty sure it'd probably destroy me. And I later found a recipe for a toxic dish I can make for it, which I don't know if that's an instant kill, but I can use that for that boss fight because there are some boss fights apparently, and I'm curious what those other bugs will be. I wonder if the Black Ant Hills Queen is another boss. If there is a boss spider, if there's a the thing about tarantulas is I hate spiders. I don't like tarantulas, but because of their one bigger nature, so there's something about the proportions of them where their appendages or their legs aren't as skinny in comparison to their body and the hairy nature of them, the fact that you can't really see their face unless you're looking at it. There's something about tarantulas I will give you. I'm not gonna say they're full on cute, but if any spider is not gonna I still don't wanna touch a tarantula. You give me a tarantula, I'm gonna say fucking no. If a tarantula I saw one crawling on me and I didn't know it was there, if I didn't see someone place it there, I'd fucking wipe that thing away so fast. So I still don't want a tarantula or anything to do with tarantulas, but in the world of spiders, they are the cute ones. And I don't I wouldn't want to kill a tarantula. Also, based on how big the wolf spiders are, which are I think objectively the worst fucking spiders in the world in terms of how disgusting they look. Especially some of those bigger ones that look like they're made out of plastic. They don't look real. Ugh, ugh. I'm also Are there any daddy long legs? There have to be. There should be at least. And I don't know if those to me, I feel like a daddy long legs would be neutral. But I don't know, maybe in the bug world, they're actually mean sons of bitches. But I feel like there should be just because there was at least one. I'm pretty sure in Honey I Shrunk the Kids, and you gotta give some homage to that. But this is a weird game to talk about just because my mind wanders all over the place, and it is this kind of open ended. You play it at your own pace. You can kind of go in your own specific routes. I would assume I don't think there's any reason why you couldn't go to the Haze Maze next because you just need to build that gas mask in order to go in there, and to do that, you just have to have the Weevil head and then a stink bug component, I think, and you don't get any you get some additional the upgrades and stuff that you can do based on each lab, and the lab's chip you bring back to the oak lab, but I don't think there's anything that is closing off one area in any kind of order that is. So in talking about these types of games, everyone's experience will probably be different, and especially gonna be different if you're playing with another person or multiple people. I would love to do that because it just seems like it'd be a fun time, and I'm genuinely enjoying the game. I think there are too many fucking spiders in the game, to go back to spider talk. I didn't even know there were spiders in the water. Diving bell spiders? What the fuck? And why are there so many of them? Sometimes it can get frustrating and annoying when you're just trying to get somewhere or collect something, do something, and you're constantly being bombarded with hostile bugs. And you're just like, fucking, can I just collect some berries? Do I need to have some stupid ass mosquito bugging the shit out of me? Or these stupid mites or all these spiders? There's spiders all over the place. Fucking this backyard needs an exterminator to come here and kill a lot of things. Because my God, it's overrun with this shit. Also, the koi fish, I thought it was just chilling. But at one point when I was just kind of trying to find the entrance to this pond lamp because it was driving me nuts for a while, the koi fish just fucking up and killed me. I heard like a big old resounding deep sound. I was like, what was that? What was that? And I found out that was a koi fish saying, "You're dead." You can collect koi fish scales, and I don't know if it involves killing the koi fish or just if you can maybe attack the koi fish and knock off scales that would fall to the ground. Ideally, that's how it would work. Because like when you're at the hedge lab, the berries, you just shoot them off with an arrow, shoot them down with an arrow, and it works that way. Then you get them, fall, craft them, or what is it? It's not called crafting them, collecting, mining them, I guess, essentially, with your base tools, your axe, your shovel, your hammer, etc. But I'm really enjoying the game so far. I kind of wish there was some alteration of the controls on the D-pad. It is basically a bunch of shortcuts. So shortcuts for emotes, for building, for some in-game settings. I learned much later that you can play it in third person. I didn't know that. Been playing in first person. I like it that way. And then another shortcut for something or other. And I wish maybe two of those were shortcuts for building and emotes, and then two were quick use items because in encounters with bigger bugs in fights where I'm taking a lot of damage or one attack will do a lot of damage to my health, I would like a faster way to quickly heal myself as opposed to going into the little menu with, I think it's maybe like the left bumper, and opening up my little scroll wheel that has all my items on it, all the things that are in my little quick access thing, and I could go to my items or use a healing item. And in those encounters, when things are really scary and I'm concerned about dying, I would like to be able to heal a bit faster to have that step, one step removed. But other than that, the controls are working for me. Again, with the story, it's pretty basic stuff. You were seemingly looking like it from the one weird dream I had, shrunk against your will? Maybe? I don't know. I feel like I should sleep more to learn some stuff, but I don't know what the advantage of sleeping is other than advancing time. I do think you heal, but you also lose hunger and thirst. So you have to drink up and eat after that, which isn't a problem once you get an understanding of the game. Collecting food, cooking raw meat, and all that is pretty easy to do, and you can save up a lot on there. You have a pretty decent sized backpack. You can carry 40 items at once, but there's no I haven't found any upgrades for the backpack. I have found upgrades that allow me to stack more things. But yeah, trying to think of what else there is really to talk about because I don't remember what I've already talked about and what there is not that hasn't been said by me. Other than that, I'm genuinely really liking it, and I think lowering the difficulty to mild. I think playing on mild is the way to go if you're someone who doesn't want who just wants to have a more chill experience in this world and not have to worry as much about being one shot by enemies, especially early in the game. I think mid game probably it wouldn't really matter one way or another, and you can fine tune. One of the things I really like about the game, have I remembered this to mention, is that like with a lot of Xbox first party games, a lot of the first party game, well, Sony and Xbox, Nintendo doesn't care. but the accessibility options are very, very good. You put it on custom difficulty, which will turn off or disable some of the achievements. So if that is a concern, that is going to hamper your ability to do this. But you can fine tune a lot of things like the amount of damage you do, the amount of damage bugs do, the thunger and thirst, hunger and thirst, depletion rates. You can make certain things, I think, invulnerable. You can unlock all the crafting recipes, make crafting free so that you don't have to collect and use resources. You don't have to find the resources to craft things. You can just craft things freely, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of granularity and a lot of various options and ways you can fine tune the experience to best suit yourself. And that's great. So you can play the game the way you want it. However, hardcore or not hardcore, you want the survival aspects of the game to be. And I'm curious about how it works in a cooperative experience. So if I'm playing, for instance, on mild, or let's just put it back on normal, maybe even the what was it? Whoa, I think is the term for the hardest difficulty, or not the hardest difficulty. Well, I don't know if there's a harder difficulty. Maybe in New Game Plus, I think it gets harder just inherently. But I'm curious if, say, you're playing on easy and I'm playing on hard. If you jump into my world, are you still playing on easy? Is the game, are your difficulty settings the way it always works for you, or do you have to adhere by the difficulty of the world you're in? I would hope it's the former so that people can play together but have the experience they want, so that somebody who wants a more hardcore survival game can have that, and then somebody who doesn't can have that, but they can play together at the same time. I'm curious how that works, but yeah, I've got one more lab to go so far, and then we'll see what happens after that. But again, I'm really enjoying the game. I don't have much interest in the narrative because I guess some of the later things I found, because you find a lot of notes and you get a lot of tapes that give you some of the story going on, and those are fine. I enjoy listening to those. But the notes initially were a lot of just jargon, and now they've gotten more in the flavor area of story and all that. But I'm kind of checked out, and it's not really pushing the narrative that much. Like, there's enough there if you want to explore it, but really it's about your own personal experience, which is how I think a lot of survival games are designed to be, where they may have no or little narrative to help push you along, but ultimately it's about your own experience in this world. And to that, I'm having a very good time. It only gets frustrating when I'm encountering so many hostile bugs when wanting to do something. I'm just like, fucking chill out, everyone. Just chill out. It took me forever to find out what a grub was and where they were. And those are the little things burrowing under the ground. And sometimes they're not grubs, they're larvae. And larvas are sons of bitches. I was like, oh, good to know. But yeah, that's the only time it gets frustrating. But it's not, it is frustrating in a general, I'm frustrated way, but it's also a good frustration. If a frustration can be good, just in that I'm feeling the tension. Again, even on mild, I still feel that tension, because while more bugs are not as difficult now, I still don't always want to deal with them. I don't like having a spider's face up in my face. And if I aggro two of the orb weaver spiders, for instance, I can take them down and I'll still survive, but it's a pain in the ass and I don't want to do it. I'd rather avoid those encounters if I don't need the resources. But I think that's a good place to end it. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff I forgot to talk about, and I'll get to that in part two, maybe. We'll see. But for now, that'll do it for this here episode of Attack the Backlog. Once again, I am Mark Krishnez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this year's show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/pxs. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, the occasional watch party, a private Discord channel along with some fancy Discord rules, and the random drop on the Patreon here or there depending on your tier. Or you could just support me to support me if that is your fancy. In addition to the Patreon, or that's again patreon.com/pxs. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye
It's
bye.
go time, go daddy. It's go time, go daddy.